Hi, I'm Emily.
And I'm Zach.
And this is Lucille the Bus.
Start from kind of the midline of the bus here and move forward from the sleeping, bathing, wardrobe, closet space into our daily living space. One of the things that's really nice about this build, and we're super thankful to Bus Life Studios for, is taking the time to build just a lot of very thoughtful storage in for us. So like right from the get-go, to have our bookshelf space that extends all the way over our living dining area, and just it's where we keep games. It tends to be where I store my laptop when I'm not working. We've got plenty of outlets in this area to work with. It just makes it a very functional and easy to decorate, which we appreciate, space. This chair here was a later acquisition. It's straight to you from TJ Maxx Home Goods. We love the way it matched the decor. It fits into the space very well. I think it does a good job of illustrating just how much space there is, that we have room for a rather large, comfortable chair, and potentially even a second in this space. In fact, moving up here to our dining bench space, both of these benches are completely free moving. We can line them up against this wall and kind of a sofa. We've got plenty of pillows to play around with. But what I was saying about open space is that we can drop this table, which I won't do now, but it folds flat against the wall. And we actually have enough of a footprint here where we can inflate a full queen size mattress and have guests on the floor with space for them to get up on the side. We haven't done that yet, but there's plenty of floor space and flexibility in terms of what's up, what's down, what's where, to really do what we want, whether it's just us day to day or if we're having guests over for a meal, anything like that. One of our favorite pieces in the actual living space is our cubic mini wood stove here. This is the Grizzly model. It is small, but it puts out a ton of heat. There have been plenty of below freezing nights that we have made it through on the bus, and this has gone a long ways towards offsetting both our propane usage from the furnace that's directly in front of me here, as well as without needing to rely at all on using the mini split to generate heat. One of the great things about it is that it's got this fan that runs strictly off heat generated by the stove, and that does a great job of just pushing the warm air wherever we need it. The only caveat is that you do need to cut your pieces of wood pretty short. Right now that's a hacksaw job for me, so I tend to be warm well before I get inside. But we're looking at electric chainsaws that'll definitely fit in our underbelly storage to make that easier before the winter months roll around. Again, shout out to the builders, because they did a great job of making sure that we have full clearances on every side of our wood stove, and the only thing we really need to do is take this curtain down if we're running it for extended periods of time, and that's a preponderance of caution to make sure it doesn't dry out and burn us to the ground. So it seems fitting, speaking of burning to the ground, to then give a shout out to our fireball here, which is basically a fire extinguisher grenade. I'm sure if you've seen any number of builds and videos, you're familiar with these, especially around heat sources. And we have another one that you'll see below over our battery bank on the solar panels, or on the solar system rather, so that if anything were to happen there, it's extinguished before it ever becomes a problem for us. Moving forwards, we have this galley style kitchen and just a ton of storage. We've got all of our pots, pans, bowls. I'm not going to pull everything out, but definitely the combination of deeper, bigger storage, which allows me to have massive soup pots, and smaller, more accessible storage for things like everything that you need to make hot chocolate, coffee, tea right here, or just day-to-day breakfast things. Everything's always easy, accessible. That was important to us considering that we're in here full time. We didn't want to feel like every day was a big Tetris game. So everything's always easy at hand. 3-burner propane stove. I'm going to be honest, haven't done a lot of baking in it. I'm not sure exactly how precise the temperature control within the oven is. It's plenty fine for baking chicken breast or anything like that. This has been absolute godsend a number of times. I do a lot of my stovetop cooking on a cast iron, and this little fan here, it's another one of our 12-volt features that you just fire it up and it serves exactly the same function as the hood on a range would in a typical house. We've got this great big sink, farm style cast iron sink, so if there wasn't enough magnetic to work with already, this is a fantastic thing to attach magnets to. But more importantly for us, it's got these great channels so that we're able to just do our dishes. Obviously, we don't have a dishwasher. We do our dishes. We can leave everything right there to dry until it's ready to be put away. So in a nutshell, that's our kitchen. And then you come even further forwards and you move out of our living space and into our actual driving space. So we've got a great big tapestry up here now that it is, like everything else, affixed by magnets. It's important for controlling heat during the day as well as having some privacy. There's a fairly busy road not too far in front of us, but it's not our problem so long as we have that up. You have the bookshelf, I guess that qualifies as part of living space, but by and large, once you're up here, it is just your typical Thomas safety liner school bus. It's a little bit of storage space when we're not using it, but one of the really cool features we have that we haven't needed yet, but part of me kind of wants to try, is over on this side, we've got a toggle switch for automatic tire chains if we happen to run into particularly icy or muddy conditions. Over here, we've got our passenger jump seat. We haven't reached the point, despite driving across the country, where there's long-term comfort in having the navigator not there to steer you clear of Google Maps little offshoots onto roads that you definitely don't want to be driving this down. So by and large, I'm driving. Emily's sitting here making sure that I'm staying on major roads and keeping my eyes open on longer days. It works great, folds up out of the way, doesn't slow us down at all in terms of day-to-day life. And we've always been a shoes off in the house family, so Bus Life Studios built this box right up front where all of our shoes go. So moving backwards from the front of the bus, which is very much our living space, towards the back, which is where we get into our wardrobe and cleaning area, the shower, the bathroom as a whole, and our sleeping area. The first thing that you run into is our kitty litter box, which is super convenient. Since Smudge was a kitten, we trained her to use a top-down kitty litter box, which keeps her from shooting litter particles all over the place. And as an added benefit, we've got a 12-volt fan, computer-style fan mounted to the wall, so it's venting full time at basically no energy draw. So we don't smell a thing. It's the least stinky litter box I think that we've ever had. And directly opposite, we have just where we keep Smudge's food. It's kind of out of the way there all the time. We never need to put it away, so that she can always drink water without us having to worry about her jumping up on the countertops and being a problem child. So as you come back into what I'm calling our wardrobe space, one of the standout features is the combination washer dryer. It makes everything super simple. As long as we've got full daylight, we can run it when we want, basically without touching the battery. We can do a load in the evening if we want. That will drain into the battery, but we don't have to worry about running out of power. We keep all of our washing stuff up here, along with some of my pants. I'm not going to get into the breakdown of exactly who gets how much of our overall wardrobe space, but let's just say that it's, I think, pretty typical for any couple. One of the perks of having baskets everywhere is that it forces us to stay organized and really keep inventory of our lives. I know that I have everything I need right now for day-to-day life, and so if I start to spill over, odds are I'm ready to do a little bit of downsizing. Another perk of the baskets is you get to store everything out of sight when you're not using it. So one of my favorite things to put away when she's not in use is our cat Smudge. For anybody who feels like there isn't space for a pet in a confined space like a bus, she loves it here. She's got more secret spots in this small amount of space than she would in the entire basement where she grew up. We only have this much hanging closet space, which we find is enough for us. Neither of us need to keep a large amount of our clothes hung, and honestly, one of the things that's great about this space is that we can push our clothes over to the side and we have full access to all of the plumbing required for the combo washer dryer. So that's easy to access should anything come up. Knock on wood, nothing has yet. Shifting over to the other side, we have our shower. We've opted for low flow, high Sierra shower head that is easy to move in part because behind there you can see, as I pulled it off before, we have another mount, and I'm sure that I will show you on the outside portion of this the fact that this door opens up and we have an outdoor shower just as easily as we have an indoor shower. So behind curtain number 2 is one of the features that I don't think we really knew what to expect going in, but we've absolutely loved. It's our Nature's Head composting toilet. Doesn't smell at all. For anybody who thinks it might, we've got the same highly technological solution for our toilet as we have for the cat's toilet, which is to say it's got an active vent pulling odors out full time. Really nice things about this setup is that instead of using the actual urine trap, it's drilled out and plumbed directly into our gray water, so you don't have to deal with that all the time. Honestly, getting rid of the solid waste, never really been an issue. I would not want to have to deal with the urine trap every 2 or 3 days. When I'm working from home, this is my office. I've got a full-time standing desk, unless I want to move up and work at the booth. But honestly, this is just, it gives me plenty of space to spread out, sprawl out. There's good light back here, and I'm not getting in the way of Emily if she's cooking or just hanging out and reading. So really the only thing left back here is the bed. We've got a full-size queen mattress back here. It's Tuft & Needle that we had before we moved on to the bus. Getting it back here wasn't a problem at all. If you have a spring mattress, that might be a different story, but this ended up working really well, and it's something that we knew we liked before we moved on to the bus. So honestly, it was just a good, comfortable start. We've got kind of a wide table back here because we've got a rear engine bus, so that's the engine underneath there. I can tell you right now that if you do a lot of driving in the course of a day and you sleep on this side of the bed, you better hope that it's the winter and not the summer, because things do heat up and it takes a while to cool off. Which I guess leads well into the fact that this is where we have our mini split mounted. So as long as you have the energy for it, a day of driving doesn't really matter because you also get the most direct air conditioning. During the day, we've found that as long as the sun's shining, you can run this, have all the windows open. It doesn't matter. You're generating more electricity than you can use. We haven't really found ourselves in a situation where we have to run it all night and we're on solar power, but we have run it pretty deep into the evening on solar and not had any issues going forward. So that's worked out really well. We've got plenty of outlets back here. We don't do a lot with our electronics back here, but it is nice to know that you can be charging your phone and your alarm goes off, and when you get up in the morning, you're fully charged, ready to go. Again, as you've seen throughout the bus, we have these curtains that have an insulated layer and just a privacy layer. Shout out to my mom for taking time out of her busy day for weeks on end to build these individually. I'll show you just on this one right here. Right now, you get good light. All you've got to do is drop the magnets and it locks right in there so that, you know, if you want to sleep in a little bit, you're not getting as much light. You're definitely not losing as much heat, which for us up in New England for the winters is a huge win. This is also our door. So you'll see from the outside, it's a fully functioning door, and our freshwater tanks underneath, along with what we call our climate controlled storage. Yeah, so that about sums up the back of the bus and the space that we have here. One of the first things is, what's the foundation of our house, right? So it's a 1999 Thomas safety liner, 38.5 feet, not counting our motorcycle rack in the front and our bike rack in the back. It's a rear engine model, so I'll talk a little bit more about that when we get back there. Right up here, front and center though, one of the things that we've had good luck with, I'm gonna call this version 1.5 of our windscreens. They're just cut to size and held in with tension springs. These have UV reducing screens in them, which also adds some privacy. Because each one will pop in and pop out, we can choose where we want them. We've got a number that we're not using right now because honestly we're just using them to reduce solar heating and to increase our privacy. With the heat and humidity of where we are right now, it doesn't make a lot of sense to have your windows open. So moving back, we've got underbody storage that's completely passed through. You can probably see a little bit from here that our solar batteries and supporting infrastructure are all up front, but this is everything that we own. We're lucky to have enough storage underneath where we're able to, all of our off-season gear, our hiking gear, everything else is with us all of the time. So we don't ever need to really retreat to a home base to restock or change out seasonally what we have with us. Moving back, this is the emergency door beside the bed. I indicated it before. We've got some underbody storage here, and most importantly, it's where our fresh water tank lives. So that's 125 gallons of fresh water and our water pump. Right now, we're fortunate enough to be completely plumbed into shore water. So we're able to just turn that water pump off, and our system is completely pressurized off of the tap itself. We have our bike rack attached, which has been very, very helpful. We're traveling right now, and so our bicycles are the only thing that we have with us. And so they're getting a lot of miles. But it's a Caterpillar engine back here. There's a ton of space in the engine bay where if you need to get in there and do any sort of maintenance, there's plenty of room to stand. We have the backup camera mounted. That is wired in such that it's on anytime I turn the running lights for the bus on. So it's very, very nice to have when you're parallel parking the bus and things like that. Honestly, driving the side mirrors do a fantastic job, and I don't rely on the backup camera too much. We've got 2 gray water tanks. This is the back one directly underneath our shower. The front one is actually not exposed, but sits underneath our kitchen sink. And they are linked together such that when we dump our gray water, one dump valve takes care of both. As you can see, we've got more storage under here. We'll hit the solar in a minute when we get up to it, but I do want to take a second just to lower this. I'm not going to lock it up right now. But we've got our other door here that opens up into the shower. So this is the outside view of the outdoor shower. When you're at the beach, this is awesome because there's never any excuse for showing up on the bus with sandy feet. So moving forward, not only do we have more storage in here, but this is where the guts of our solar system lives. We have our inverter. The batteries are centrally located. As I mentioned, there's another fireball as well as a smoke detector down here, and our solar controller. Right now, as you can see, we are plugged into shore power, so we do have a 30 amp system that we can run everything all the time. The solar, we can do wash and drying cycles, run the hair dryer, whatever, with no issue there. Down below it is our dump valve. Like I said, both of our gray water tanks are linked together. So you open this, dump it out, and you know you're good to go. This is the exhaust for our propane furnace. I didn't point it out inside. It's located towards the back of our kitchen. It does a wonderful job of heating most of the bus. I don't know if it gets super cold, if it would do it by itself, but I'll have to get back to you with that when that situation arises. 2 20-pound tanks, and as you can see, they're both completely hosed in, and there's a regulator between them that's set up such that the arrow points at the one that's currently going, and if at any point that first tank runs dry, it'll automatically switch over to the other tank. I'm sure you can imagine at 10 or 11 o'clock at night, being able to automatically jump over to your other tank on a cold night is kind of a lifesaver. So we're back inside briefly to go into the solar system in a little bit more detail. We have a miniature controller display inside here that it's kind of our lifeblood of decisions as far as how long we might let the AC run or when we do a load of laundry. It feeds directly into the solar controller that's located down underneath, which is where it gets all of its raw data. We have 8 panels on the roof that are 315 watts each, so that gives us just over 2,500 watts of solar. That all feeds down into a 6,000 watt inverter, and is our retention system. Our batteries are 4 deep cell AGM batteries, 12 volts each for 48 volts total. And spilling into how we actually use it, we have some systems, like I mentioned walking through, that are 12 volt, and other systems that are 120. When it comes time to switch back and forth between shore power, it's completely effortless. All you have to do is plug us into shore power, and the controller takes over and makes sure that nothing gets overloaded and that it's regulating itself. So pretty straightforward, very easy. We found that it's the shift to completely off-grid, given the system that our builders built for us, has been painless.
Why did we choose to live on a bus? We've probably moved easily 10, 11, 12 times in the past 15 years, and we got to the point where we thought, why not bring our house with us? Why does this lifestyle work for us? We've moved so much that we haven't accumulated a bunch of stuff. So actually, when we moved onto the bus, we got all of our stuff on it and still had a little room to spare. And we were talking everything, all of our hiking gear, Our bikes, we don't have a storage container, we don't have stuff in parents' basements. It's all on the bus. How important is green living? It's important to us, but mostly I love the idea of not losing money every time I move now.
And at the end of the day, every time we do move, we're getting 7 miles to the gallon out of a diesel engine. So how green is living? A lot of that comes down to our solar.
And our solar is awesome. In terms of our conversion process, we did not do this ourselves. Amazing Ashley and Zeno of Bus Life Studios built this bus for us.
And they're still doing consultations if you're interested in an assist on your build.
Highly recommend. We basically discussed general layout and we gave them a color palette, and then we kind of said, you know, this is your 9th full build, you guys know best. And we never ever in a million years could have come up with something this good on our own, either in the idea phase and definitely not in the execution phase.
I think that we could have achieved a very similar result if we had significantly more experience and unlimited income and 4 or 5 bus frames to start with. But,
So we could ruin 4 of them.
yeah, arguably. But
Yeah,
they definitely streamlined the process, and I don't think there's any arguing that Lucille is a much nicer home than it would have been if we built it.
Is the bus insured?
This is a topic that I feel pretty passionately about. From the outset, everything I had read had said, don't mention the fact that you're living in a converted school bus, don't mention the fact that you're living in it full time.
When you're trying to get insurance.
When you're trying to get insurance, and when you're registering the vehicle with the DMV as well. From the outset, I decided that I was going to be very clear and transparent, because we do live in this space, and if anything were to happen to it, I don't want to go through a song and dance of actually collecting insurance money. So it took a little while to find coverage, and it's not the cheapest option out there, but our insurance provider knows exactly what we have and what we're doing with it, and as a result we were able to value it at a realistic dollar amount to what we believe the bus is worth, as opposed to the around $5,000 that we bought the shell for.
Vital stats of the bus itself. It is a 1999 Thomas safety liner with completely pass-through storage underneath, like traveling sports team buses have. Rear engine, Cat 3126 engine, which is fantastic because that's apparently a really common engine in larger trucks. So you take it to any diesel mechanic and it's familiar. So it is less expensive to get repairs done than something more specialized.